everyone. Thank you for joining us once again for another Adam Interviews segment. We are cruising now. We've had some wonderful interviews over the past few days, and we're going to end the week with yet another one of my favorite people in the Rochester metropolitan area, Deb Ross. She is the founder of Kids Out and About, and Deb and I go way back. We've been talking about things for kids to do for, I don't know, 15 years.
Yeah. Almost 2 decades, yeah. I think. You know, click on me and I talk, as you've discovered.
Yeah, no, it's been wonderful and very, very helpful. As my kid's 13 years old, and I've certainly, you've saved us many a cold winter afternoon. Finding things to do. And speaking of my kid, he's coming back from sleepaway camp on Monday, and it got me thinking, boy, final days of summer before school. And I gave you a call, and you're here, and the conversation today is about what to do in the lead up to school to kind of cap off summer. And I guess, am I being a little too sentimental here? I mean, does it mean something to a lot of people, kind of the last week or two of summer?
Oh, it so does. I mean, I haven't been in school for many decades. And still, as this time comes to a close, I jump right back into that time, right? And as my kids are now in their 20s, they're not there either. But I'm still there, like sort of just psychologically, I think we all are still there. Kids hate endings of things. But so do adults. I hate endings of things too. But one of the things, when you're a kid, you're not really in control of things, right? You're doing what your parents tell you to. You're going along with everybody else's rhythm. But when you become an adult, you realize that you can craft the endings of things, of any of your story arcs in your life. That's actually in your control. And if you craft the ending of it deliberately, that becomes the lens that you look back through for those memories. And that for summer, like think about, if you think back to your own summers, you're thinking of these highlight memories. And that's what we want to help sort of create an environment of that for our kids and families so that they get to create their own memories. And Rochester's so rich in all of the options for doing that. That's what makes me happy every day.
Yeah, so basically, even if it's just one thing, maybe do something that you can point to and you go, I love how we ended the summer. Or you can say this was a highlight of the summer.
You can. And the way we do that, I think, is we kind of steep ourselves in sensory experiences, because that's what anchors the memory, right? The 5 senses of sight, sound, touch, taste, and hearing. And so by thinking of those 5 senses as you're thinking about what to do with your kids, and then when you're doing them, kind of pointing out to pay attention to how the hot dog at the Red Wings tastes, right? Or what the birds sound like as we're on a nature walk. Just those little, parents are tour guides to their kids' life fundamentally, right? And you're selling your kids on this world. You can either be a salesperson or you can be a dictator. I prefer salesperson. I just jumped right into sales.
Let's do sales.
And let's do sales. Let's do tour guide. That's how I like to think of it. And so I'm endlessly pointing to things out in the world and connecting my kid and what I know about that kid to that new thing. And then just talking as life goes on. And it's just a very natural, fun conversation. But always thinking, who's that kid? What's this experience? How do I make it so that they have that experience and remember some of it, carry that with them, because we are our memories.
Yeah, I think some people probably do that naturally. I always love fresh cut grass. So after I mow the lawn, I'm always kind of taking that in. There's always like an artist that I listen to at the very start of summer, the first 80-degree day, I roll down the windows, and I want that to be like the start of summer.
Do you let the wind blow back your hair? Is it a Bruce Springsteen song? No.
Whatever this is, sure. But you know what? Maybe there is a transition. I think what you're highlighting too is that an end doesn't have to be an end, and it can also be the start of a beginning.
Exactly, right? And so if we feel like we're more in control of that, that helps that experience be a more positive one, and then it leads into the next one. And the older kids get, the more they realize that like sort of life is a series of those story arcs, those beginnings and endings, and you are in some way in control of that. And like if you can be that a guide to other people, right? Kids I noticed my kids doing this with their friends too, pointing at things just because I relentlessly point at things. I'm painfully cheerful about it, as they will remind me. They are not painfully cheerful in the same way, but it works for me. That's me. And so they started doing that with their kids too, with their friends, and that was really gratifying.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact is, you are going to have to start winding down in certain ways, getting the kids to bed a little bit earlier,
That's right.
shifting them so to highlight it in other ways. And the fact is, especially now this year, it's not always the case, but the end of August here, it still feels like summer.
It
It's
sure
not
does.
like it's still getting dark a little bit later. It's 80 something degrees, so you can still get outside.
Oh yeah, and it's marvelous. Like I've always called this our payoff season. Some people love the winter. I don't really love the winter, even though I love Rochester. I really do. But sometimes in January, I grit my teeth saying, I love Rochester. I really love Rochester.
Oh, yeah.
But this is our payoff, right? This is where it's not too hot. It's not even too muggy when you compare it with the rest of the country. It's get outside and steep yourself in the heat. Like that's even part of it. The heat, the stickiness of the air, the stickiness of the popsicles or the pine tar or whatever. Like that's all fodder for you making these memories.
Yeah, I think there's an opulence to summer that I've been thinking about. Listen, I want to be the fan of fall like everybody is, and I am, but it also is so foreboding.
Oh,
when you get
I'm
there.
right with you. No, I sometimes you have to lift the good cheer up with your hands at the end of October when you think, oh, what's ahead?
Exactly.
You just do.
But August is just so rich, and there's still so many fun outdoor activities. And if you want to go over a couple that you might recommend here as we approach, it's the 15th. So 1 to 3 more weekends left to kind of get outside before school starts. What do you recommend?
Sure. Well, I'm always a fan of baseball. And I love the Red Wings, not just because I love baseball, which I do. I don't even care if they win. What I love about the Red Wings is the experience, and not just the fact that it's family friendly, but again, the senses, the heat, the hearing the bat, the tasting of the popcorn and the hot dogs and everything. But also, they celebrate our community. Every half inning, there's something different. There's a new game. There's people out on the field. There's highlighting local businesses. It is all part of being a Rochesterian to me, and I love how they do that. So yay, Dan Mason, for sort of being that spirit for so long. I'm very, very proud of it.
We're so lucky that he stuck around. He makes it, and you said it perfectly. It's such a good experience, and it's 9 innings of a reminder that summer is here. You just sit there and you luxuriate in all things summer.
Right, but you can also get up. Right, it's not, and you can talk, and you do talk. That's part of what baseball's about. So for kids, it's not this be quiet, sit down, No, it's having the experience of moving around, of seeing different vantage points, of it being a safe place to do that, a safe and cheerful place where unlike maybe some like Yankee Stadium or whatever, everybody is nice and happy and sweet, and nobody's being mean or cursing or anything. And everybody's cheering on our team without it being like so high stakes. So I love that. I love that about our area. So that you can do lots of other things sort of out in the heat that even are, you can manufacture that yourself. And keeping on the sports theme, one of the things that we used to do is I used to take August and clear out the basement, and I would just do it. I wouldn't make the kids do it. And I'd set up this kind of shop where they can shop for the badminton set or the bocce set or whatever. So it's like a little sports boutique. So then we just take that and we go out in the backyard and use it.
Yeah.
That's a different thing than sending, like it's making it a little bit special. And you're shopping in your own house and you don't have to go and buy anything. You just use that stuff that you've already bought, and it feels great as a parent to do that.
That's so funny. I never even thought about it. Once in a while, I'll open up my own closet and be like, if I were at a store, a department store or whatever, and look through the clothes, be like, I like that, and it fits.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's my shop.
Shop in your own house. Shop in your own cupboard for dinner. Shop in and it's like, I mean, I used to sometimes do that with the toys too, especially in the winter. Like hide some toys for a while and then bring them out in a little shop. You can shop. You can play with any of these things. Choose it carefully. And it's the same things that they've had, but just a little tiny bit of attention can make things special.
Yeah, there's no question. And music is still so alive this time of year. I was walking on the Erie Canal 2 nights ago, and within the span of 1 mile, I heard 3 different forms of music. One guy playing live, just him and an acoustic guitar. And then under a pavilion, someone had like some ice cream social music going.
Nice.
And then we ended our time on the Erie Canal at a restaurant. It was like Spanish music with like a steel drum and Spanish guitar with the nylon strings. And I just thought to myself, well, I mean, it's almost like someone painted that picture.
Yeah. And one of the things you appreciate that, and that's actually kind of a key to doing this subtly, not to just say to the kids, listen, you have, no, it's you steeping yourself in that appreciation and letting them see that. and explaining what you are doing. You be the person that you are and loving the art that you love. That's another really key thing I think with kids. They're going to like stuff that you don't. And one of the things it occurred to me early, well, I'm not a huge fan of opera or soccer or martial arts, but I wanted my kids not to just be pigeonholed by the stuff that I like. So I made a point to do this wide variety of stuff, not in the summer, over their whole lifetime. It's not like you have to cram everything in 1 week, but just to make a point to introduce them to things, because you never know what is going to make their imagination kind of take flight. And then when it does, there's no making fun of them. There's only celebrating it, even if it's not your cup of tea.
I agree. What's interesting too, that I think you're hitting upon is the difference between the experience and the memory of the experience. And we as adults think about that all the time. I remember I went to a running camp between freshman and sophomore year, and it was so painful. It was a terribly trying week for me, and yet it was in Alfred, right near Alfred State. And yet when I look back, it was one of the best weeks of my life. Like, I wonder, how can that be? How can I say to myself, during that time, I just want to go home, and then I look back and I say, what a formative experience. And so I think that we have to keep that in mind too. They might not fully appreciate what you're saying. Like if I'm saying, hey, look at that musician, and they just kind of like meander through, it might not mean something then, but
Right.
their appreciation might develop over time.
Let me tell you about a very parallel payoff moment. So, of course, I've taken my kids to museums since they were little. And I've done the tour guide thing, every museum. And, I'm that, again, painfully cheerful tour guide. And then when Ella was about 10 or 12, she said to me, Mom, we don't really like this. We go along, but this isn't our thing. I said, okay. And I felt a little crushed, like I had failed in some way to inspire them. But then when she was 17, I took her to New York City, and we were in the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. And she had just taken this art history class, and she was absolutely riveted, and she was even telling me all about, Gothic architecture versus, Romanesque architecture and all this. And she caught me looking at her, and she said, "Oh, don't look so smug."
I love
But the thing is, the stuff that they might not like when they're young, it makes an imprint. And now, she's a filmmaker. She's completely into the visual arts, when I would just never have predicted that based on her like dragging her feet when she was 10.
Yeah, well, that boredom can easily over time turn into nostalgia too. So,
True.
but we'll see. We'll see for me. I'm curious. Often when we have people, before we get into more suggestions on how to end the summer, I like to kind of talk about the people that we have, not just the suggestions they can offer. How did you get into this all?
Oh, so my background is in the enterprise technology. So in the 90s, I was a technology consultant, and then it sort of morphed into web consulting as the web came on in about 1996. And I started having the babies in 1999 and immediately realized what an amazing area this is for raising a family. But I would find out about all this stuff. This was, remember, 1999, 2000, by having watched a TV news telling me what just happened that day. And I thought, oh, wouldn't it be great if there was one website where everybody could just manage their own listing and post to the calendar all the stuff that they're going to, so that I could, oh no, nobody, I guess I can make one, can't I? And I know it's very quaint, but there was no such thing as a web calendar back then. So I devised the first Kids Out and About for the Rochester area, and that is what took off. And so I had always had the vision to expand it, but the technology didn't really support that in 2004 or so. But then 2009 rolled around, the technology had improved, we reinvented it, I took on investors and partners, and we started expanding. So we are now currently in 52 regions in the US and Canada, 12 million visitors per year, and 800,000 subscribers to the weekly newsletter, and Rochester story shared with the world. And AI is going to let us actually explode in expansion in the next year, 24 years down the road.
In what way?
Well, it's really hard to find events for calendars. Like, it used to be in the aughts, people were like, really? I can post my own stuff? Great. And then as social media came on, it became much like, oh, I can post my own stuff, huh? Okay, it'll go on the to-do list. And so it's actually hard to get folks to manage all of the community calendars and places to post. So I have staff to do that. And it takes a long time to do. But AI is going to change that landscape and let us scan for much more granular to find the events that aren't already on our calendar and get it on in a cost-effective way, which means that we can go to even smaller regions than the major metropolitan areas and serve everybody, which makes me very happy because that's our mission, to make communities visible to themselves.
Yeah, that is wonderful. Speaking of visibility, the total solar eclipse, you became I remember, boy, it was probably 6 years ago. You had said to me, I'm going to help chair or lead the total solar eclipse campaign. And I said, oh, is that next year? And you, oh, no, it's like 5 years from now. And I was like,
right.
Okay.
Why do we need 5 years to prepare for something that's happening for 3 minutes and 38 seconds?
How did that come about for you?
So, and this is another Ella story, that she's my youngest. And in 2012, she was at the Strasbourg Planetarium. So she was 11 years old. And Steve Fentress, who was the director then, said to the class, middle school astronomy class, hey, in 5 years, there's going to be a total solar eclipse across the U.S. in 2017. And so she came home that night and told me, Mom, in 5 years, I'll be 16. I'll have my license. We're going to make a road trip to Missouri. And I said, that's nice, darling. But of course, like she kept that going. And then 5 years later, we made the trip. And I didn't understand what the big deal was. I knew what a shadow was. It gets dark every day. So why is everybody making such fuss? But for that minute and a half that we were in totality in Kimmswick, Missouri, it was my world got changed. My world got rocked. To see all of these bodies in the universe and me being one of them was just sort of astonishing. It's a life-changing moment. And I realized in 7 years, that's coming to Rochester. Somebody's got to start preparing this region. I know everybody. I guess it'll be me.
Yeah.
So that's how it started, sort of in my head. And Ella says my mother went crazy. And then we prepared as a community so far in advance that by the time the pandemic came, and we were out ahead of it. And so the national task force, I started participating nationally. And so in 2022, they asked me to co-chair the national task force to help teach other communities that were in the path to do it right, like Rochester did. And that was just deeply inspiring and satisfying.
What was it like when it happened here for you?
So we had spent the 5 years preparing the community for, well, there's a half and half chance that it's going to be cloudy. And so we were hands down the most prepared region. And the weekend before was, if you remember, it was glorious. And we had so many events and people piled in. And then the weather forecast also piled in. And so that morning, people scattered west and east. But of course, I didn't. I was broadcasting nationally on various channels and everything from the Genesee Country Village. But of course, we had prepared them that it would get profoundly dark and that there would be this amazing glow around the horizon and that you just needed to be with the people whose hands you were going to hold because you wouldn't be able to see them. And that's exactly what happened. And everybody who got bonded under that profound darkness, I mean, I heard people coming up to me afterwards using the same words that I'd been using for all that time to describe what that experience meant to them. Slightly different for everybody. But I think we created a lot of eclipse chasers here in Rochester. Speaking
of chasing eclipse, I'll never forget someone saying shortly after, well, it'll happen again in northern Spain and Portugal next year. And, I told someone about that when she said she was thinking of going to Barcelona. I said, well, if you time it right. She goes, I'm thinking I might do that.
People are. So August 12th of 2026, it'll be Greenland, Iceland, Spain. I will be in Iceland helping with media for the week before that. And then seeing what Iceland is like. I know the guy who's running the Iceland. There are fewer people in Iceland than there are in Rochester. So, it's not hard to know the guy. That'll be fun.
Yeah. So kind of a Rochester contingent. Are they asking for advice?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, and in fact, I get those kinds of requests all the time from Iceland and Spain. And so do my cohorts from all over the country whom I met who were, pulling their own communities together. We're now the experts.
Yeah, it's a fantastic. What's the cloud forecast there?
Same as it was here.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we'll see how it goes.
We shall see.
So going back to the end of summer here, any type of events coming up that you might recommend?
Sure. We've got all the festivals, right? And so I suggest at least a festival. I think it's the law. You have to take your kids to at least one festival. give them that festival food. Let that whole sensory, sticky, fried, whatever. See all the animals, pet them, see the prizes, hear the music, ride those rides. It's all going to like sort of move your body around. And also you can see like all the local people and exhibits. And it reminds you that people create these experiences. They're just not like, they don't just arise. People have to organize them. Having been on both sides of that, I can, attest to that. So, having those experiences of lots of people, unless you're not a lots of people person, in which case definitely it's an out and about in nature experience. And here's my best nature tip for kids. So you go out into the middle of wherever you're walking and you have everybody close their eyes. And what you do is you hold up your hand, and then when you hear a different sound, you mark it with your fingers, like what kinds of sounds did I hear? And then after about a minute, you say, okay, everybody open their eyes. And then you talk about the kind of sounds that you heard around you.
I love that.
And it helps kids especially, but even adults, just realize where they are in this place, having this experience, and that they're part of it themselves.
You don't have to, I'm sure there's some business where you can pay $100 for an hour of that type of serenity. Meanwhile, you can just go outside and do it.
You can. And I rely on the nature-centered and trail guide folks to point out like which of the things are poisonous and which of the things are fine, and that snake is fine, don't worry. I rely on them for all the information. You could go out and get informed at the same time as having these experiences. So.
I agree. You know what I love is the timing of the state fair, because you talk about kind of going out with a bang, and I think the state fair provides that for a lot of people. Even if you don't go, just knowing that this massive event is happening, but you can go see a major concert. The acts that they bring in are huge. You can go see a disgusting amount of butter in one spot.
You can.
I love that.
It's inexpensive too. Like the tickets will not break the bank, and kids 12 and under are free. And it's just, and then you get to also agriculture, being up close and personal, hands-on with the food you're going to eat and the people who produce it. There's kind of nothing like that. You can do that with a lot of the farms around here too, right? The CSAs, like some of them, community-supported agriculture, actually let you pick your own food. I love going out to the orchard several times a year just to, really have my hands on what we're going to eat, and then you get to all sort of decide together how to cook it. That anchors the memories, and it's also helps expand their palate too when you've got. But try without stress.
Yeah, I have to always be so careful when I go picking, especially for the fruit, because it's like I've been to a couple tropical places in my life, and the first day or two, I eat nothing but fruit, and there's a side effect to that. And going out to a farm for me is the same thing, because it's also tasty. Oh, try this apple, try that apple, and next thing you know, you've had 8 apples, and you haven't had 8 apples in a month.
That's right. That's right. And like the Wayne County has that wonderful apple tasting trail all of October.
Ooh, I didn't know about this.
Yeah, so October 1st through the 31st, there is a passport from Wayne County Tourism. You just download your map. There's 11 farms this year, and they all have these tasting experiences. And on the weekends especially, you just get to taste, and you go into the little farm stands, and it celebrates the apple, of course. Their big tasting weekend is Columbus Day weekend, including Monday. And then if you have this passport at the end, you just send it over to Wayne County Tourism and be entered to win great Wayne County apple-themed prizes.
No
And they've
way.
been doing this for years and years. Yeah, so
I'm going to do it.
You totally should do it. And there's a lot of wine and cider, and yeah, it's great.
Oh
Definitely.
my goodness.
And you can do it in the rain too, because you're just driving around the countryside. Definitely memory making with all of that. Adults, kids, everybody.
I love that. By the way, I know this is really not for kids necessarily, although I think it is. Tonight, we're going to be airing a piece for our Destination New York series. It's about the FLX wine tour.
Oh,
the
great.
do's and don'ts. And we went to New York Kitchen, which is a tremendous resource. And
they got great kids classes too.
Do they really?
Kids,
cool is
teens, and
that?
adults. I love it there. I love those classes.
That's so cool. Yeah, and it's funny. It's, I don't mean to be a pusher of alcohol, because it's not for everybody. And you go to these breweries and wineries, and it's so kid friendly.
Yep.
They
They
have
all are,
games and
they show you how the grapes are made, and you learn about all the harvesting, and you see all the different. Actually, not when I was a kid, but drinking red wine is what actually got me off of like the sugar palate of being a kid into a more sophisticated palate of being an adult when I was in my 20s.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because it's like you never notice the subtleties of things until you're trying do the different.
You know, and it goes back to what you were saying, where, you know, you step into a field and you listen. Drinking wine, the experience is very similar, where you actually try to, you know, taste the different things, but you can do that with anything that you eat. I mean, when I did apple, I mean, how often do you even like stop and taste an apple? But when I went apple picking, I was like, this is the best apple of my life. But it wasn't.
True.
It was just that I was thinking about it for the first time.
Yep, absolutely. And like, you know, apples and wine country here with the Finger Lakes, that's also us. And so showing kids that this is us, like that will anchor them for their whole life. Who are you? What does it mean to be from the Rochester area? By creating these memories of the very specifically Rochester things, we're creating, you know, sort of people who in the future are going to think fondly back here. Let's hope stay here, raise a family here. And so important to do that, you know, with kids.
Yeah, I think I like the theme of what you're saying, which is be intentional about your experiences and leave room for the whimsical too, where there is no intention, but you have to get there first.
Yep. Try not to like feel the pressure to do that, but, you know, just go on kidsouthandabout.com. We've got tons of ideas, and we have, you know, 101 day trips that you can plan. So if you really want to end with a bang, doing it outside of our immediate place, going in, and so we have them all categorized in different ways. There's water things and sports and shopping and nature and all kinds of things. Choose the stuff that resonates with you, maybe like one for each person, and just design your own tour.
I love that. I love that. Any other thoughts before we head out?
I mean, just the fact that school is starting is not a bad thing. So just what you want to do is just say, this is the end. Now here's, and you know, think about those memories, talk about them. Like as school is starting up, look back on the summer, talk about those memories, and then just know there'll be memories in the fall, memories in the winter, and then next summer too. Like help kids see that continuity. Yeah,
and I think that that's so important for all of us, is that a month to 6 months later, remind, even if you're just going through your pictures, say, remember this, remember that, and then it kind of like.
Absolutely.
Like,
tour guide to the universe.
What a summer that was. All right.
What does 2025 mean to you? That's it.
Yeah. Deb, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Always a pleasure talking with you.
Thanks.
And what a valuable resource for the entire community. Kidsouthandabout.com. If you want to go now or in October or over the winter, which is when I found it most useful, as I was pulling my hair out trying to figure out what I was going to do when there was 4 inches of snow on the ground. So you couldn't even go sledding necessarily, but always a valuable resource. Also, we are going to take a break this weekend. We are not going to have these Adam interviews over the weekend, but we'll restart on Monday, and I've got a great lineup of people that I'm working on now. So if you missed any this week, you can find that at rochesterfirst.com, and stay in touch for the Rochester app. Is going to be packed with stuff in the coming hours with weather and sports with that. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Get out and about, especially with those kiddos if you got them.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 On Demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.